Now, the government have been accused of hypocrisy for allowing 2,500 UEFA VIPs into the UK for the Euro semi-finals and final without having to quarantine. So, Carol, this is your opportunity to say, I told you so.
Well, I did. I was on the show on Tuesday when we talked about it, and it was only a thought then. They were threatening to let them in without quarantine, and I said, well, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that they will allow them. And they have. And I said on Tuesday as well that it's, in a way, it's a good thing, because I think people can now really see that there is one rule for them and there are other rules for us. And if
so who's the them and us that you're talking about?
Well, the them and us are politicians, the elite, the rich. They can all seem to do what they want.
But there's going to be 60,000 fans in.
I know, but it's sport as well, isn't it? Sport is money. And the reason that Boris says he's allowing them in is because it would have gone elsewhere. It would have gone to Italy, and he needed to have it in this country. But the main point is, if they don't have to abide by these rules, the quarantine and everything else, then neither should we. They should drop the rules for everybody, or don't allow them to
we kind of have to be careful.
Politicians are dodging them all the time.
Civil dissent and all that. I mean, it's interesting. Silverstone have just announced this morning that they are going to have full
big
capacity,
sporting event.
140,000 people, and that's on July 16th and 18th. That they are going to be tested and things. Does it feel, Katie, like a bit of a tipping point now?
I think it's becoming really uncomfortable, because what's kept a lot of us going is that we're in this together, and more are actually showing the message, particularly to our children, that if you are powerful or privileged, it's a different set of rules for you. You know, I know in my own house, you know, with my eldest daughter, she's 7, sports day, I'd booked the day off work, she'd made a sign for us to hold, and she excels at sport, you know, that's her thing. She wants to be an athlete, so this is a really important subject to my daughter. We might not be able to go to sports day. And when she says to me, well, you and Dad are going to the pub, you're going to work events, why can't sports day happen? I'm struggling to give a real answer.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a fair answer.
Yeah.
There isn't a fair answer.
I don't mind making sacrifices when it's fair, but it's becoming unfair.
Yeah.
And it's also knowing exactly where that directive comes from, because apparently, you know, the government says that sports days can go ahead as long as COVID safety rules are enforced. But, of course, different schools, nurseries, etc., they're going to be nervous, they're going to err on the side of caution, and so we've got to think, well, where are these rules coming from? And when you don't know where the rules are coming from, that's where confidence just starts to get eroded, doesn't it?
Well, and I suppose it feels for so many people that the goalposts keep being moved. I mean, I was listening to a radio show the other day, and this guy rang and said, my wedding has become like a business lunch.
Yeah.
We can't sing, we can't dance. He said, why can't I also, like these big sporting events, have lateral flow tests, PCR tests, because I'm going to be the best track and tracer, because I'm going to know everyone at my wedding. And there is no argument against that. No. And I just feel now, I mean, I just get incandescent. I feel like I'm constantly filled with rage at the disparity that in plain sight, they keep saying to us in plain sight, it is one rule for one and another rule for all you little people down here. And it's making me feel like I'm unwell with it.
And everybody's done as they've been told for over a year, like 12, 14 months. And then on June 21st, everyone was thinking, right, that's it, we can all get back to normal now. Everyone's had the vax, everyone's worn the mask, everyone's done what they've been asked to do. And the politicians haven't. You know, they've been travelling, they've been, you know, going to events and not social distancing and making it look like they are, but as soon as the cameras are off them, they're not.
It does definitely feel like a big moment,
I think another thing that's really bad at the moment for morale is that we're getting a lot of headlines like increase in infections. And a lot of them, when you read below it, you know, infections where people have been double vaccinated, but asymptomatic with mild symptoms, which was what we were always told about the vaccines.
Yeah, no,
the vaccine doesn't stop you getting COVID, but it stops you from dying from COVID.
Well, I mean,
and I've just got this horrible feeling that there's a new narrative coming with that.
Yeah. I mean, people are still dying. It's still being presented as a major health risk, and we know that there's a lag and that we could be caught out. We have been caught out badly on 2 occasions before, but it's the shift in the messaging, isn't it? I mean, in Scotland, it's very much been about keeping the infection rate low. At one point, we were talking about zero COVID. Now the infections have gone through the roof. It happens to be disproportionately amongst men under the age of 40. One wonders why that might be, but suddenly it's OK. And I don't think people can take that right-hand turn. But listen, Carol, let me take you to an even other level. Let's talk masks.
I just want to say one thing. States in America have dropped every single rule and the cases haven't risen. They've not tested and they haven't risen and the deaths haven't risen. When are we going to be able to do that?
It is difficult.
But we're never going to be able to do it.
Well, we probably, you know, it's always going to be a gamble. And we're maybe going to have to accept that it's always going to be a gamble because the virus isn't listening to us. It's just doing what, you know,
no, but it knows when you're sitting down in a pub without a mask on, but when you're standing up...
Let us talk about masks. This is another great talking point, whether or not they will disappear on July the 19th and there'll be no legal obligation to wear them. And this morning, Environment Secretary George Eustice said that there will be no legal compulsion to wear face masks once the restrictions are lifted. And at the moment, that's July 19th in England. In Scotland, it has to be said, Nicola Sturgeon said that there still will be a requirement to have them after that. I'm kind of getting used to them, to be honest, because I like going about quite slack-jawed like that. At least I can just wear my mask.
So people don't keep telling you to cheer up, love.
Where are you with them, Casey?
Yeah, I think for me, the pros are starting to outweigh the cons. You know, in the beginning, last year, we were in a different landscape. We didn't have the vax. You know, it was a completely different world. But now, I mean, I know through my own charity, we have people with facial disfigurements, with burns, that their whole 10 years of therapy has been to stop hiding under big hats, to stop hiding behind scarves. And they're now able to hide a disfigurement and go about in the world without being stared at, without comments. And they don't want to get rid of that. So they've gone backwards psychologically and in confidence. And even those without visible difference who just have anxiety or confidence issues, it's a welcome barrier. And it's not good for us. You know, that main point of communication is the smile, it's the mouth. And if we lose that, you know, who do we become socially? I think it's a dangerous territory. And I think, you know, we are in a different place now.
It's a really good point because all the focus is on, obviously, reducing the spread of the infection. But there are so many parts of our lives, our interactions that are reliant on people going, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, and people are being discriminated against. And I'm happy to say I sometimes discriminate against people. I sometimes judge people and find them intimidating in a mask. If people come towards me, you know, completely covered, everything, just tiny eyes, I do get that tummy flip. I do panic because you've been raised to fear somebody if they're hiding their identity. Why are they hiding their identity? So then people wrongly get discriminated against. So there's a bigger picture and I think we have to not exclude...
It's so nuanced wearing a mask, what goes on when you shut down a face. I mean, I remember at the beginning when we had to wear masks and it made me so upset whenever I'd see a baby in a buggy and I would like talk and smile and the baby would just look back sort of blank face because actually all they can see is this. They can't see the smile. They can't see what... That you know, that has an effect. So we are going to have to start weighing up the pros and cons.
It's losing communication.
There's more cons now.
Even when I go to my daughter, the youngest, 3-year-old, go to watch her at dance, I try to encourage her like a maniac because I'm constantly doing this because I've got the mask on. And she's looking to me for praise. How's she doing? And all I can do is, like, move my eyebrows to tell her she's doing well.
But there still are people who are very anxious, though, and we have to be mindful of that. I mean, it's interesting. We did a poll on this. Should compulsory mask wearing be dropped after July the 19th? And some people will still choose to, obviously. So, yes, 57%. So 57% said it should be dropped as a compulsory measure. But you've still got 43% who said that it shouldn't. So that is a sizable chunk of people out there who, for whatever reasons, you know, Sally Ann says, I think mask wearing should be staying for a bit longer as not everyone's had 2 jabs by July. Yes.
But what about those that feel nervous? Wear it.
Well, exactly.
But then you're nervous of other people not wearing it.
They need to drop the compulsory mask-wearing thing now and not in a month's time. They should have done it ages ago. In my opinion, that's what I think. And I know that people feel secure and safe wearing it. And that's fine. If you want to wear it, I don't mind. But, you know, don't try and make me feel bad if I don't want to wear it. And don't try and make me feel like I'm a dangerous person because I'm not wearing it, because I'm not. And there has actually been, like, a syndrome identified called COVID anxiety syndrome. And it really quite disturbs me and upsets me when I see people in their cars on their own with masks on. And I just think, you know, this isn't right. How are you going to break that? It's like what
Well,
you
no,
say
but we
with,
do
with,
have to
with
be
your charity.
it's a real
generous to
Yeah.
other
It's
people, though,
bad.
too. I mean, Katie, you said if you felt that people around you were nervous, you would wear a mask
Yeah,
out
I
of
think
respect for them.
particularly if I was in places where there were elderly people, I understand why they'd probably feel more comfortable if I'd wear one, and I'd be happy to. There are some positives, like on the tube now, people can't just sneeze and then grab onto the rail, and actually that's quite nice, you know. And if I had a cold and I was going out in public, I'd probably wear one because it's basic common sense and etiquette. And if we could operate on a level where we rely on people to use that common sense and
Yeah.
it's not compulsory, that feels more like choice
Exactly.
and freedom.
Exactly.
Well,
You need
it's
to
kind of
give
what
them back
runs
our
through both of these
responsibility.
discussions, isn't it? I think we're now at the point that there has to be consent. We've had emergency powers and we had to be told what to do because we faced the greatest health crisis of our generation and before.
According to
but
them.
it's, well, at some point there has to be consent. A lot of people have died, Carol. A lot of people have died, and we have to be mindful
I'm not
of
denying
that.
that.
I know, and I know you are, and I know you are. After the break, we're going to be talking about neighbour disputes. There you go, there's a bit of a jump. That ended up in this tree being